Hello, I hope you all had a great Tuesday going into Wednesday. It was an eventful Tuesday for people, especially on the Democratic side in primary elections across the country. So, as you can see, you have on this display for this video Joseph Crowley and what's her name? Sorry. I know her last name is Ocasio-Cortez. What's her first name, though? So it is, let's see here, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she's very likely to be the new representative for New York's 14th district. Now, I'm not going to say that I support her because I don't, because I probably oppose 100% of everything that she stands for, whereas with Joseph Crowley, I would have opposed 98% of what he stands for. And that doesn't mean I would have supported him either. For all I care, they can both, kick rocks. But to illustrate really what this is about, I predicted yesterday, and it was a very cautious prediction. I said, look, I think that for the future of the Democratic Party, it makes a little more sense for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to win the election and present, at least a representation of change from within of the Democratic Party, as opposed to Joseph Crowley, who represents the old way of accumulating power through years of servitude to the Democratic elite. And you know what? Again, I can't say I support anything she does. I can't support any of her policies, but she earned this seat, and people should understand that elections happen. Incumbents get unseated, especially in primaries, due to deficiencies within the party, due to deficiencies within the movement, within the organization. You had somebody who is effectively, I was looking, the fourth in line for succession for the House. So to put this in perspective, I believe that the leader of the Democratic Party in the House is, of course, Nancy Pelosi. Then you have Steny Hoyer, and then you would have a third person. I think it might be Jim Clyburn. I think he's the whip. And then the the leader of the House Conference is the House Democratic Conference is Joe Crowley. So what does that exactly mean? Well, on paper, I have no clue. I think the whip is the important person because he's the person who goes around. Ironically, they have a person who happens to be black as the whip. So take that for whatever it means. I'm just going to put that out there. It's an expression, no, it's a joke. So please don't take it any other way. But Jim Clyburn, look, all of these people, and that's what I mean. Ocasio-Cortez makes it into the, she's going to make it into the House very likely. I don't think that her Republican opponent is going to get much support because this is, I think, it's part of Queens and part of the Bronx. So the Republican Party has traditionally sucked at recruiting urban voters, and especially urban voters who are minorities. And I'm sorry to say, I don't see it changing fast enough this year for anything to really reflect. And Ocasio-Cortez is a very diligent campaigner. She is an energetic person. And, the Democrats have to understand that they've been bringing this shit on themselves. And this disgraceful party that consistently doesn't actually present any viewpoint. It presents really just a contrarian attitude. That's about it. And that's why this guy is going home, because you know what? It's not enough to commute back and forth from Washington, D.C. to your home state, in this case, New York, and pretend that you're making a difference, because you're not. You really aren't. And people know that, whether they're a progressive or whether they're a conservative. And it's fair. I saw Jamarl Thomas, I'm going to tweet this out to him, was celebrating this. And, I don't think it's the most important thing in the world, but it's not unimportant. I wouldn't say that people should say that this is the biggest victory of the year, because, look, she gets into Congress. She's going to be a freshman member of the House in a hostile Democratic caucus of the House, because there's they divide the House into caucuses. So she's going to be a party of one, essentially, unless, there could be a handful of other progressives that get elected. And what they will end up being is a thorn in the side of the Democratic establishment in the House. Some of them might not get elected. Some of them might. I think she actually presents the best case right now of somebody who could get elected. So, yeah, I predicted yesterday, based on a very cautious estimate, that and you can look at my video yesterday. It's not like I was trying to say, oh, she has no chance. I just said it's more likely that Joe Crowley will win, just because, first of all, funding, and the fact that the Democratic primary is also dirty and it's closed. So you have to register as a Democrat like a million years in advance to vote for this freak, this Joe Crowley guy who looks basically like Humpty Dumpty. Instead, they got this Alexandria-Cortez person, Ocasio-Cortez. Look, I'll be honest with you. If I saw either of these people on the street and I knew who they were, I'd probably, tell them to go fuck themselves. I don't like either person. Not on a personal level. I don't care. But, at this point, they consider themselves to be basically America's conscience, when in reality, we've chosen for years to run up debts and whatever. And either of these candidates would run up tremendous debts. And we have an administration now with the Space Force. I deliberately didn't comment on the Space Force because I'm not really sure that it's actually going to be anything of significance. I think it might actually be some sort of fake out that Trump's using to screw with China. That's one theory I have. Although I honestly, if he does waste a ton of money on it, I'm just going to have to say no. I'm not going to support that. It's a bunch of bullshit, We have a massive Air Force. Titanic. I mean, you don't have to form a whole new branch of the military in order to fight, Mork and Mindy or whatever the fuck is sitting up there in the, above the stratosphere. We're gonna nuke Alf or something. I am not at the point where I'm in favor of spending any more military money whatsoever. And, foreign aid, I'm also against. I think the country should cut budgets for literally everything. Literally everything, except, possibly the national parks. I do support funding the national parks. That's about the only one that I fully support. I do believe in preserving the national parks. I think when the EPA ran buck wild all over the rest of the environmental cause. The environmental cause was originally about preserving our nature for future generations and not basically turning it into, more states of New Jersey. That being said, congratulations to the lady. Here's what the Washington Post said. You'll notice I don't think they really got the point.
Democrats had a rather rude awakening on Tuesday night as their number 4 ranking official, Congressman Joe Crowley of New York City, was...
That cough wasn't, it wasn't by accident. It's an impression of the Democratic Party today. Now that this idiot lost his House seat.
Was defeated in a primary by an unheralded opponent named Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Crowley's loss was almost instantly tied to House Majority Leader Eric Cantor's loss in a Republican primary in 2014. Cantor's loss was seen as a rebuke of House Republican leadership, of his moderation on issues like immigration, and a sign of a desire for new leadership in the Republican Party. Did Crowley lose because he was a member of Democratic leadership? Did he lose because people are concerned about the leaders being too old or being too moderate? Ocasio-Cortez feeds all of these questions.
How are you feeling? Can you put it into words?
No. I cannot put this into words.
All right, your supporters here are really excited for you.
This victory belongs to every single grassroots organizer, every working parent, every mom, every member of the LGBTQ community. Every single person is responsible for this.
We don't know the answer, and we haven't yet seen a string of Democratic incumbents lose in primaries, much less a string of Democratic leaders being cast aside by their constituents. But Democratic leaders have to be asking themselves this question in a way they simply weren't 24 hours ago.
All right, pretty much everything we've seen here is an expression of, you know, why I think personally both of these people can go fuck themselves. You know, you have on the one hand this idiot who's, you know, stale 80s style. I'm the working urban Democrat. I represent unions. Yeah, unions. You voted for NAFTA, you son of a bitch. I think you did. And even if you didn't, let me see. Let's go to Vote Smart. I think he was in. He might have been in office, but at the time. Let's look at this. I'm pretty sure he did. So, House bill passed. In 1993. I know it's a little tiring. It's a little late in the night. Let's see here. New York. Let's see if he might not even have been in Congress. So you had can't this screen be any fucking smaller? So let's follow it down. Chuck Schumer actually voted no. So you had a lot of the Peter King voted yes. So a lot of these Republicans have flipped on trade, obviously. You know, and that's one of the reasons that, you know, unfortunately, maybe he wasn't in. Yeah, he wasn't in office at the time. So, in any case, let me see if there was anything on the TPP. I don't know if the TPP passed the House at the time. But let's see. Let's see if he voted on anything trade related since then. Because if he did, if he voted for one of these big bad trade deals, then yeah, this guy's a problem, I think. I like this website. This website is very useful. So go for what the hell? I think I selected the wrong category. Here we go. Okay, no, it was the right security. So let's see here. You voted against the Colombia one. Well, you voted for the U.S.-Peru trade agreement. Now, Andean Trade Preference Act extension. Pay-as-you-go rule, I think that was a little different. The U.S. and India Nuclear Cooperation Act of 2006. The U.S.-Oman Free Trade Agreement, yes. Let me see. CAFTA implementation bill. I think that was the Central America one. So we voted no on that one. Withdrawing approval from the WTO agreement. He voted against that. So this was a guy. U.S.-Chile Free Trade Agreement Implementation Act. Yes. So I think you do have to be fair. He did have a little mixed bag on this trade vote. Now we can go issue for issue what his other strengths or weaknesses were. The fact of the matter is that he was close to Nancy Pelosi. He was close to the other members of the House that are part of the establishment. And I think Ocasio made the case. As much as I probably would never, ever, 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 ever vote for her, I'd say she earned the seat. And she's going to be in the, and she looks like a very, bonny lass. She's going to probably be, the belle of the ball in the House. And I don't care if that sounds sexist. but she also, look, let's be fair here. This person, Joe Crowley, is an ugly asshole from Queens, and she's not. She's obviously a much more vivacious, attractive, and smarter person. So what do you want? She wins on looks and she wins on books. And you have to hand it to them, even though she's a flaming communist. And you know what I think we have to do with that? Pinochet, tomorrow comment. I want your input on what you think we do with flaming communists. And I'm not encouraging you to put, I'm just saying be creative. But I'm not saying anything to say anything disparaging. I'm saying do whatever you want in terms of your comment. Not negative or positive, but kind of try to read my mind. I have a person who comments on my page, Augusto Pinochet. So that should be enough of a hint. In any case, there were a couple other races that were a bit, they should be troubling for some people. The people of Maryland, for example, may have, and I guess it's their choice too, but they elect, or they at least nominated Ben Jealous to run against Larry Hogan, who's the Republican, who is favored to win. Not that I care, Maryland, I've probably been there 2 times, and, I think the people there are cool. But if they want to elect some piece of shit like Ben Jealous, then they deserve to be a complete failure. Ben Jealous is simultaneously considered a progressive, yet he's also working for the Center for American Progress at times. I think he used to be there. Maybe not anymore. The Center for American Progress is pretty much what's wrong with America. And people like to complain about the Koch brothers. They like to complain about, Jeff Bezos, Jeff Bezos is an evil asshole, but he's a successful evil asshole. And he's made something, Amazon, if you've never used Amazon, then I guess what do you want? You want the Nobel Prize for human compassion and being, the Pope of being nice. Fuck you. People use Amazon because they like it, because it's a fantastic, fantastic place to buy shit. They're not using Amazon because they think Jeff Bezos is a particularly, worthwhile person to talk to. I think he's basically Lex Luthor incarnate. So, yes, the Center for American Progress, if you're affiliated with it, you're affiliated with a think tank that has enabled the corporatization of American politics. They are, if anything, worse than the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers they're not good, but people behave as if they're like the twin antichrists of the world. And all they do is they fund candidates that they think will make them a little more money. What Center for American Progress does is they fund candidates that they think will make them more money, and and abridge the rights of Americans and give them more control. So it's much worse than the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers are merely greedy people. So you'd be electing people who are just smarter, more successful, probably healthier, even though they're much older than me, versions of me. You know, because they probably somehow harvested the organs of somebody who, you know, he volunteered to die for you know, in order to preserve the Kochs or something, whatever. Something bizarre happens that keeps them. So, I mean, they're pretty old, yet they seem to be energetic. And I don't believe it's because they diet and exercise as much as, you know, people would like to think. So, you know, I'm injecting a lot of personal politics here. But, yeah, I think the Koch brothers, I would definitely take somebody like Larry Hogan over Ben Jealous. Now, the other candidate who ran was a little more of a local flavor. But Ben Jealous, the former head of the NAACP, compromised that organization and it made it into a partisan, you know, dumpster. The NAACP, I remember from my childhood, was considered still a worthwhile civil rights organization. Nowadays, you know, they're basically, you know, they're like, you know how you get, you know, different flavors of Mountain Dew. No, it's like, you know, somebody pissed in a can and they put a different food coloring on it. That's basically the NAACP, as opposed to GLAAD, and I don't care. The metaphor should hold. I'm sorry if it offends anybody. The metaphor holds. All of these organizations, okay, if you're a minority out there, it doesn't matter if you're Mexican, if you're black, if you're a white person, I don't care if you're a Jewish person. These organizations are dog shit, all of them. The NAACP, the ADL, La Raza. What's another one? Throw another one in. GLAAD. You can have what is it? The SPLC. They're total crap. Okay, like I said, it's you have a can. This is Schweppes, by the way. Fuck Mountain Dew. I drink, you know, just carbonated water with a little cherry flavor or whatever. It's good enough for me. I don't need no piss in a can with food coloring. That's what all these organizations are. And, you know, the NAACP was once an amazing organization, and it's not anymore. It's a mediocre organization of whining bitches. And I gave shit to one of my guests here. I'm not going to mention his name today because I think he's been doing some good work that's not political, for joining the NAACP, which has become a joke. It's become a joke. I'm not going to pretend anymore to just go with the flow on this. Ben Jealous is a piece of crap. And if the people of Maryland elect him, then what can I say? What can I say? The guy is a, you know, he's total garbage. You know. Let me see if I can get that video again.
Today we come together from all corners of Maryland to send a message to the Republican administration in Annapolis that their time in power is coming to an end. Voters in Maryland now have a clear choice. Larry Hogan's go along to get along politics, and his policies on almost every issue stand in direct contrast to those I laid out in this campaign. Well, we've got a message for those who think this race is already over. Larry Hogan will lose in November because he is not ready to run against someone who knows how to build a people-powered grassroots campaign. The promise that we've spoken about, the promise of Maryland, is not just what we want to do. No, that's our goal. Just like winning this primary was our goal. Just like winning the general is our goal. It is not what we want to do, it is what we...
Anyway, it's the same generic crap. Maybe I'm being unfair because a lot of these speeches are basically you know, they're the same. Let me just say, I don't know how somebody else is messaging me at this time of night, but you know, good for him. Yeah, this guy is the former. Look, I get it that the NAACP was a great organization one day. He is one of the reasons that it's not anymore. And you know, if you look through their entire platform, they've become just another, you know, super liberal organization. They don't actually advocate on behalf of the rights of black or Afro-American or whatever, you know, people of color, all the different, you know, throw-ins that you're talking about. Because to be honest with you, they're just a pro-abortion group that's funded by corporations. Okay, so why don't you just, I mean, if you're for abortion, just donate a little money to Planned Parenthood. Instead, you're donating to the NAACP, which recruits people to advertise for Planned Parenthood. So, you know, it's the same crap. They're just a fully progressive organization. It has nothing to do with the civil rights organizations of the past. Okay, those of you that say, oh, it's the same thing. No, it's not the same thing. Back in the 1960s, the civil rights movement was not about abortion. It also wasn't about gay rights. And it also wasn't about, you know, what's the other thing? Well, the Fight for 15 and the Poor People's Campaign, I think there's some parallels. You can make the case for that. You can make the case for economic progressivism. I think that there are a few parallels of that. I'm not going to totally shit on that, even though I disagree with it. But all this other crap that they advocate for has nothing to do with what the earlier civil rights era was about. Now you can also see another person who won. You know, this is in Maryland. The Baltimore City State's attorney was Marilyn J. Mosby, who was the prosecutor in the Freddie Gray case. So she screwed up possibly one of the more important police violence cases in the history of, you know, of police violence cases. And, you know, basically the judge said, well, you're an incompetent moron. And she still gets reelected. And that, my friend, is why America is what America is. You know, you can tell, you can have people who are just consistent failures. They're incompetent fools. You know, it's no different where I live, okay? I'm not shitting on Baltimore. We have a mayor, Frank Jackson, whose grandson gets arrested all the time for doing whatever the fuck he wants. You know, if he wants to race dirt bikes on a commercial road, on a regular, you know, street that's not for dirt bikes, he does it and gets arrested and he goes scot-free. Other people go to jail for it. Not a lot of other people, but some people do. Not him. Carrying an illegal firearm. Again, same thing. You know, an illegal firearm that's not registered in your name. Basically holding an illegal gun. Well, you're the grandson of the mayor, so I think his name is like Frank Jackson III. I'll pull that one up, just so you don't think that I'm making stuff up. Let me see here. Yeah, I mean, this is from last year. You got mayor's grandson pulled over by police, and man wanted for attempted murder was the passenger. So, you know, he's carrying fugitives. This is our mayor, Frank Jackson. Okay, and this is his grandson, Frank Jackson III. and he, you know, he's carrying some guy with and this guy's already been like arrested like 4 or 5 times. So then people ask, you know, why are you so down on the city? You know, how come you can't get behind Cleveland? Well, I would, but you know, why should I? I mean, if I was driving around with an attempted murderer in the car, I doubt that Cleveland would have my back. So fuck it. I'm going to be supporting, you know, my friends and myself and the city itself. You know, I think they can worry about their own affairs. You know, people are like, oh, what are you trying to, you know, be smart about it? Yeah, I'm trying to say this city is just as much of a whole as a lot of other cities in the country. It doesn't mean that, I mean, I've tried to move other places. You know, I've tried to find jobs other places. That's what I want to say. And maybe I will one day. Or maybe I won't. And then, you know, I'll still be here complaining about the mayor's grandson. But back to Marilyn Mosby. Mosby. So she wins a re-election in the three-way race for Baltimore City Attorney. Let's hear the video. Yeah, we're gonna have somebody incompetent prosecuting us for crimes.
I love my city. Collectively, in the face of chaos, we've proven that we can do anything. And tonight's victory underscores our collective strength to drive reform and place a stamp on change. The people of Baltimore came together in the face of chaos and showed that we are a resilient people. Victory was not promised, but we did. Together, we did it. This campaign was never about me, it was always about us. And I stand here today, victorious tonight, because I have a village.
Yeah, I have a village and a family of cops that I don't know how to prosecute because I'm an idiot, and I don't even know the basics of how to be a prosecutor, because and this is after the Baltimore Sun. So remember, this is a one-dog town. There is no other big newspaper in Baltimore. It's not like, you know, San Francisco or LA where you have, you know, I mean, granted, they all have their establishment ones, but it says, in her inane and self-serving commentary, Marilyn Mosby, I knew that nothing would be the same after charging police officers in Freddie Gray's death. Incumbent state attorney Marilyn Mosby completely and spectacularly misses the point of the tragedy that was the Freddie Gray case. When the police illegally stopped and searched Gray, in the process, so I don't know who the hell. Okay, this is just an opinion person. But listen, there's nothing illegal about stopping a person and searching them if you're the police. And if you think so, then you know, how about you, when somebody is snooping around your yard and stealing your garden hose, you go up to him and you say, hey, I'm going to call the police on you. They can say, well, I mean, how are they supposed to know whose garden hose it is? Or are they going to search me? What do you? I mean, it's against the law according to you. Gotcha. Then they hose you down with the fucking garden hose they just stole from you. Yep, it's gonna happen. Not to you, Carlos, in California, because you don't have any water. So I guess you're just gonna have to eat your crow with basically a side of you know, apple cider or something, because you can't have any water because you live in California. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to send this video to you too, buddy. Over the past 40 years, the police have been free to degrade, seize, and kill black men in the name of interdicting narcotics. Instead of interpreting the Freddie Gray matter as the hideous culmination of the ineffective drug war and its corrupting influence on law enforcement, Miss Mosby somehow manages to see it in it a divine plan for her to both showboat and incompetently, by proxy, try the police officers involved in Gray's death. Guided by my faith, she writes, believing that I would. So now this is one of the Democrats who has discovered religion, they've discovered religion because they realize, you know, after years of basically behaving as if religious people are basically mutated, you know, troglodytes, idiots. Now they realize that, you know, only by invoking a faith that they always hated can they actually convince anybody to actually vote for them. Because in reality, these people have no idea what believing in any sort of religion means. Any religion. I'm not trying to pick on any religion in particular. I'm saying that these people are purely using religion in the most narrow electoral sense here. And by the way, if I ever were to run for anything, whether it's a public office or some sort of imaginary thing, I don't think I'm going to use my religion as the basis for it, because it's like, you know, I'm not here to force other people to think the way that I do. That's my approach. Unlike this idiot who's you know, saying, "Oh, I screwed up my case, the most important case of my career, but through my faith, I've basically been able to make good on it." How? You know, because those 5 cops are probably laughing, "Oh, I can't believe that this idiot, you know, she thought she was going to convict us." She probably had as much of a chance of convicting herself because she was an idiot. That, by the way, is one of the reasons one of the main reasons that cops are able to go free. Because when you're a prosecutor, first of all, a lot of these prosecutors are not as good of an attorney as, you know, a very good defense attorney. And also, you know, these police officers, they know all the way how to, you know, they know the weakness of these prosecutors because they know the criminal justice system. And, you know, that's inside baseball there. So if people want to prosecute cops, I would say this is a suggestion for here. And I don't think, you know, whether you're a conservative or you're a progressive or you're pro-Black Lives Matter or you're against Black Lives Matter or you're pro-police or whatever, I think everybody should think for a second about this suggestion, because I think it should make sense to just about everybody. When you're prosecuting police, you might as well bring in a prosecutor from outside the district who would be able to, you know, bring in a couple independent people. You know, really, that would be the key. And instead, they brought this moron. So, you know, this is just how a reader interprets it. And you know, obviously, I think this reader is also out of her mind. Let me see here. There was another much better. Okay, this from you know, she was going to be disbarred. So that was a person from the left before. Now the Root decided to stick up for her. But I mean, how can you stick up for somebody who was such a complete failure? Let me see here. Let me listen to this guy.
Hey everybody, this is Ghost Train 615, and I want to send a shout out to a couple of people that
By the way, this is just a random video, so don't. I mean, if you want to investigate for yourselves, I think that this woman was. There's plenty of places to find more crap that just backs up what I'm talking about. Here we go.
Are well experienced in the use of common sense. I want to send out a shout out to E.T. Richards at Providing Common Sense one person at a time. To Sister Honestly Speaking, and my most recent contact, Battle Cat, whose YouTube videos kind of struck a chord with me. I caught it last Saturday, and I'll tell you something. All three got a lot to say. And
all right, I mean, you know, a lot of people said how I mean, I should have picked something a little more authoritative. Let me see if that lawsuit was ever settled. So here, this was brought. Crap. So she was sued. She was sued, but I guess it says here federal appeals court blocks a suit against her. Yeah, it put it on hold. So it had to go to a federal appeals court. Now, I don't know if that's a final ruling, but realize exactly how bad you have to be for, you know, you lost a lawsuit where, or I guess you lost a prosecution against 5 cops that it was completely your fault that it fell apart, because I think there might have been evidence to convict those, you know, at least some of those 5 officers for Freddie Gray's death. You know, I'm not going to take sides in that argument because, you know, I don't support the cops and I don't support Freddie Gray. You know, with all due respect to the family, you know, I'm not going to support some dude that obviously was not I mean, everybody asks me. I have a guy on my show once in a while. He says, "Did this person deserve to die?" Well, at a certain point, you have to accept that people die for all sorts of reasons, and you can't complain all the time. Oh, the police, they shouldn't have killed this person. Well, it's not by mistake that certain of these people end up getting killed by police. At a certain point, you have to ask, how many idiots are there out there that they end up, I mean, what was he even accused of? Let's go back to that. Can't believe we've dragged this into the Freddie Gray case. Okay, death of Freddie Gray. Okay, so he'd already been convicted of a couple crimes, I guess. Let's see here. So a lot of them were like drug crimes. Yeah, and apparently they found a switchblade on him. So, look, I don't care. You know, you can claim, oh, they planted it on him. Well, you need evidence to say that they planted a switchblade on a suspect. Okay, you can all this is what I hate about people who are, you know, they always attack the police when they don't have proof. Okay, I am not supporting the police. I'm saying if you hate the police, you need proof. You can't just say, the same person I mentioned just a few minutes ago always says, you know, first of all, his first question is always, did this person deserve to die? And then the second question is, don't you know that police always do this or whatever? I don't give a fuck. You have to prove that they did it this time. You don't have to prove that they do it all the time. You have to prove that they did it this time. And if you can't prove that they did it this time, then I don't give a shit. So basically this prosecutor was operating under the assumption that these police officers were basically, you know, guilty. So she didn't reveal some of the evidence to the defense, which is required by a prosecutor, because we still live in a country where even police officers are entitled to a fair trial, just like Freddie Gray should have been. You know, let's be fair. If Freddie Gray was entitled to a fair trial, so were the people who ended up killing him. So, you know, you can't pick and choose who gets the same civil rights that you want. That's about it. You know, I guess congratulations to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and congratulations to you know, I mean, Jamal Thomas and Carlos, of course, you know, the guy on my show who comes on every once in a while. You know, you guys, you deserve a victory, especially against a jackass like Joe Crowley. You know, however much I disagree with her, I mean, she obviously worked hard enough to win, and she'll probably be in Congress. So that's it. Please like the video, share the video, and comment. And I guess until next time, you know, just don't accuse police officers of things that you can't prove.